Welcome to our meeting of the North America Conscientiological Group, which is being held through the Consciousness in Evolution channel. And we appreciate very much for the support and hosting us. My name is Marcelo Perez, and I'm representing Reapprendency International, a consciential-centric institution dedicated to re-education, and also Isaac, another consciential-centric institution that's dedicated to the internationalization of conscientiology. This meeting is being held in collaboration with APEX, the International Association of Existential Program. We are going to take a look about what it is. And today we will discuss exactly that, Proexis, existential program, that it refers to the life plan that a consciousness designs before being reborn into a new human life, also known as resoma. And now that you found yourself living here in North America continent, do you have a mission? What's your life purpose? To talk about this and much more, please welcome our guest, Helen Matos, That's great to have you here.
Oh, Marcel, it's so great to be here. Such a pleasure.
Let's introduce you, Helen. Okay. Helen has got a background in performing arts and archaeology. She has been specializing in proexology, the science that studies proex, or the study of life purpose and existential planning, since 2020. And she is a self-taught researcher who explores the connection between a person's pre-birth identity and their life purpose, helping others reflect on deeper questions such as, why am I here? What am I meant to do in this life? Helen's approach is simple, clear, and welcoming, and I like that. Ideal for those who are just beginning to explore these ideas. And also remember, if you enjoyed this conversation today, give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for joining us today. And Helen, let's start here with a question, Let's start with the basic, Because some people that are watching us, they are part of the North America Group, and we hope that our colleagues were doing today using the StreamYard instead of using Zoom. I hope that they engage and then they place their questions here, and then you can place your questions in the chat at any moment. But some people may be new, So what is existential program, Helen?
Aha, that's the big question, huh?
Yes.
Well, I'd like to start talking a little bit about purpose of life or life purpose. And this is something that has been talked about for the longest time in this planet, right? Several different lines of knowledge, religions, and several civilizations have asked, why am I here? What am I doing here? What is my purpose in being here in this planet? And so this subject, purpose, has been developed throughout the years. And nowadays, even psychology, philosophy, several knowledge lines have been talking about it. The difference between this and this new word, existential program, is that in conscientiology, we bring this topic as something that we have developed before we were born. So we in conscientiology consider our existence beyond this body. And before we were born in this life, we observe that we planned with a very technical approach how we were going to develop our manifestation here in this dimension, this intraphysical or material dimension.
Yeah, and then you mentioned something that it's very interesting for the newcomers, You said that beyond this body,
Yeah.
So do you have more than one body?
Well, yeah. Alongside with conscienciology, we have also a conscienciological specialty or science approach, which is projectiology. And in projectiology, we can actually verify a lot of the phenomena that are intrinsic in our manifestation here. And what projectiology is the technical study of something that has been talked about throughout the years, millennia, actually, uh, called astral projection. So through the astral projection or projectiology, we can verify that we have actually four bodies. We have our material intraphysical body, this that we call the soma. We have our energetic body. That's where we actually interchange energetically with the planet, with our consciousnesses. And we have also our psychosoma, our emotional body, and the mental soma, our mental body. So, what the existential program actually brings up to us is that with these tools, our bodies, they become tools for our evolution. And that's how we manifest here in this dimension. And with the psychosoma and the mental soma, we can actually have our astral projections, our consciential projections. So this is why we consider interdimensions, multidimensions in our interaction amongst these dimensions.
Yes. So we mentioned here that we do this planning before the this life here to be the resoma or to being reborn, the reactivation of this soma. So what does it mean? Is there a preparation for doing this, or how does it work between before the life? Okay, and regarding what defines this existential program, how we plan this existential program.
That's a very interesting question, very good question, because in order to understand the existential program or this technical planning that we have in developing our lives here, we have also to understand another concept, which is the intermissive course. And the intermissive course is like, when you're preparing for a course, a class, and you have to do a test before, and then you will put into practice everything that you learned on that preparation phase. That's what the intermissive course is. And not everybody has an existential program, because not everybody was even invited to be part of the intermissive course. And this invitation is not based on a status or intellectuality, nothing like that. It's more like you have your own holobiography or your own personal biography throughout your manifestations here or in extraphysical dimension. So people that are prone to existentiality, people that have developed traits specifically connected to the existential approach or helping others, some of them were actually invited to be part of this intermissive course. And there we have the opportunity to get in touch with some things about ourselves, our para history, which is our history beyond this life, And also, we get to connect with other consciousnesses that are in tune with this kind of approach, this kind of manifestation. And there we have classes, we have opportunity to practice some things that we are going to be living in this life and things like that. It works a little bit like some. Just a regular class that you can register in here, but with this transcendental approach.
Okay, so it, we have here a question from Anna Yogan. What's the difference between purpose of life and existential program? You talk a little bit about both, but can you do a comparison about that?
Sure, yes. The a purpose. A lot of people, any person can have a purpose in their lives. That's something that will. It's an inner motivation, something that you know inside of yourself that you have to do. And there is even the example of a doctor, Viktor Frankl. I don't know if all of you have heard of him, but he actually was in a concentration camp when he could actually experiment in himself the power of having a purpose in your life. So when you are going through something really difficult in your life, and then you have all the reasons to give up, to have depression, to just not want to do anything else. You're going through so many hardships, and instead of that, his approach and he brought out this a line of thinking in psychology, which is the logotherapy, that when you actually have a purpose in your life, you may overcome these hardships. So that's the psychological approach. The difference between that, which is very important, and the existential program is that we go beyond that. We come, when you have the intermissive course, we participate in intermissive course, you actually come, you are born with some signs, let's say, that it's an inner knowledge that you have in yourself, that you have something specific to do. You didn't come here to this life just to grow up, go to school, then you go to college, get married, and then you have kids, and then you get old, and then you die. Some people are not fulfilled. They don't feel fulfilled just living life like this. And the existential program is something that we bring within ourselves, which tells us, no, I have more important things to do, something beyond that. I have to leave a positive mark wherever I go.
So that's that kind of innate ideas that we,
Yes.
we have that we don't know exactly what it is, but
Yeah.
it's here. Okay, so it's like that ideas of things that sometimes it's not connected with the group where you're born or your family, for example.
Yeah.
Things, but
Yeah.
always in a assistential positive way, I would say.
Yeah. It may start within yourself, self assistance, let's say. It may start there. It may start as you not actually knowing exactly what it is. But if you follow this feeling, this what we call in proexology or at Apex, we call it the compass, the inner compass that will be guiding you. If you actually follow it, it will develop in something bigger. So, for instance, when I was a kid, I always told my parents and everybody else, I know I didn't come here just to get married. I don't. I know I'm not on this earth just to get married and have kids and just have a profession and die. I'm here to do something important. They would look at me because I was just a kid, and they would look at me, oh, yeah, okay, all right, she's gonna be famous. Oh, but I don't think that's what I meant. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I knew that there was something that I needed to do that was very important.
That's nice. And then Okay. So, Alan, you live here in United States, that's right?
Yeah,
So,
25 years.
how many?
25.
25. Oh,
Yes.
longer than I was expecting. Yeah, time flies. Uh, so, uh, when you look to your existential program, when you look to um the life that you have in North America, okay, United States, Canada, Mexico, all the region, uh, do you see any particularities that influence the way that we execute our projects here in North America compared to other continents like Brazil, like Europe? What would be the particularities that could be constraints or enablers for the execution of the projects in the United States and Canada and so on?
Oh, great question. So this question is actually connected with the reason why I studied the existential program. So as an immigrant, we and you were an immigrant too. We know that it's not easy for us to actually move from our native country and go to a different one. And moving to America, to the United States, wasn't easy either. In the this movement, I actually got lost. That inner compass that I told you about, I kind of got swayed away from that. And the the mindset that we have here in the United States is very different from Brazil, where I was born. Very different, the way of life. So, in order to adapt, it was necessary for me to actually find myself trying to get an adequate adaptation for the way of life here. And that was very hard for me in the sense that in order to at work, it's a different mindset. Families, the way we families are raised here is very different from Brazil, and so on. What I understand now that since 2020 I started lecturing and giving classes about existential program, and in 2019, that's when I started volunteering at Apex. And since then, I've been understanding that there is a part of ourselves that is kind of disconnected from this inner knowledge that we bring when we are born or reborn. And that's where the existential program and the study of the existential program can help in America, in the United States, when we get into this mindset that's very materialistic, very hands-on on surviving, that may begin to sway us from our bigger purpose, our inner knowledge about assistance and about everything that we learned throughout our lives and everything else.
Yeah, it's I would say that the pursuit for the happiness, okay, a lot of people understand that getting rich, but the pursuit of happiness could be to be a better human being also, and so to evolve as a consciousness.
Yeah. Marcelo, I while I was here, so I when I arrived in the States, I was very insecure. I didn't speak English the way I thought. I should. Was in a foreign country, different culture. So I worked my way from the bottom up, learning English by myself at home, working in odd jobs and very hard jobs. Like I was working in pizzerias making pizza. I was delivering pizzas. I was cleaning houses. I was cleaning cars. That was the hardest one. That was hard on my body. Cleaning cars. I don't want to do that again. So until I got to a point where I was actually managing a team of 75 people in a resort, and I made a lot of money. I was the sales manager there. I was living in a very nice apartment with my husband, and I had status. I was considered one of the best employees there. My English level was so good that I would proofread everything that the Americans would write in their emails and their documents and everything else. And still, I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. I was feeling depressed. I was feeling out of place, you know. And I had met Conscienciology in Brazil before I came here. And I knew what it was like to actually feel I belonged, you know. So that to me was a very important message that this material world, all this material success by itself may not be enough for someone that has an existential program. But that's a very important thing for us to identify.
Yeah, and then you mentioned something that's important because that's about measuring. Okay, how I measure if I'm in the right path or not. But sometimes is that a feeling of feeling blue during a Sunday when you are off the work, off the clock, and then well, that's the moment that you ask, okay, is anything missing here? I think that's one key word when people that has existential program that well, during the weekend when I'm doing nothing, then something is missing. What is missing? And
Yeah.
then I think that's the key word. And then, yeah, this is a country like United States that there are a lot of, we call it strong traits, okay? So qualities. And then, but we also have some others that we need to challenge. So it's how we go from the materialist, the more warmongering part to like the more fraternal and cooperative relations, and more the entrepreneurial, okay, regarding of like the things that would help, that like volunteering in an institution that you think that you make a difference. So uh, then that's the moment that at least for each person will be different, but you feel that that kind of blue, it's kind of reducing. And sometimes you replace the blue for some level of satisfaction when you are not resting for a moment.
Yeah. Well, life nowadays in the whole world can be very distracting. And especially here in the States, I mean, we can get distracted very easily, you know. All the opportunities that we have here, economic opportunities, all the distractions with theme parks, dancing clubs, or all the movies, and the way of life here is not as hard as in other parts of the world. I'm not saying that there is not poverty here. Of course, there
Yeah,
is, but
that is. But
here in the States, it's more when you actually come from another country where it's a common thing for you to see a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old working in the streets, and that changes your own personal paradigm, you know. So, and that's why I have a daughter, and she was born here, and we talk about it a lot because she doesn't actually know a lot about the realities that we came through in Brazil. So I talked a lot. I talk a lot about that to her, and so she can understand that all that we have here is just a distraction, and it may actually deviate you from your real purpose. So the importance that what we are talking about here is what is, if you make a plan right now in your life, okay, for instance, you're making a plan to become, let's say, a lawyer or to become a teacher, and then on along the way you get distracted. And then you go, oh, a friend calls you to a party and you go, and then you don't study. And the other day you go to, I'm not feeling very well today, I'm just going to relax and go to the movies. And then 10 years passed. And when you wake up and you think, okay, I had decided that I had this profession, that I wanted to have this profession, and I deviated from that. And what am I doing now? Am I happy? Am I fulfilled? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? If you change the perspective and you bring a bigger picture to this, and instead of just considering a profession, you were not born yet and you were planning your whole life, technical approach before you were here. And then you come to the States and you get distracted with everything.
I think that what you're saying, it's very connected with what, the question from Anna Yogan. So can you say intraphysical melancholy an indicator of Proexis the tour?
Oh, for sure. Yes. I've been through that. I've felt that. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And I have actually even like to me, okay, everything that we are saying here is important that people know that is not the absolute truth. Okay. And keep your critical mind in place. But I'm just going to give this short example, okay? I had everything. I had money, I have my husband on my side, I have my family visiting me, I have a good place to live, and I wasn't happy. Now, I don't have all those material things. I am in a transitional phase, and I had never been as happy as I am right now because I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
And then we have a question from Monica. She was asking, why did you come to US? I think that she's curious.
Well, at first I thought I was coming to the US to actually make some, create some opportunities for myself, money wise. And I had the idea that I was going to go back to Brazil one day, with some money aside and maybe buy a house over there or something like that. And that didn't happen. I actually stayed here. The reason I stayed here is that I love this country. I love living here. I tried going back to Brazil. I couldn't stay. I wasn't used to the lifestyle there anymore. So I love this country as my own. And I decided to actually start doing what I'm meant to be doing, but from here, still here. But that was the first reason. Um, I just thought that I would have more financial opportunities here than I could have in Brazil.
Yeah. And then, Ellen, going a little bit back here. Okay, you talked about distractions, but sometimes these distractions are done or manufactured in a very professional way. Like one thing that I find here wonderful, that's the movie industry that we have here. Hollywood, USA,
Mhm.
set up standards for that. And then it's several times it's looked like they're telling a story that could be the stories of our life. Okay, so can you make any parallels or any connection between movies and the Proex?
Yes, of course. So to get there, let me just say, give you just a very short explanation on how at Apex we work the Proexis journey. We have courses, we have some lectures on that. So, in order for us to actually understand how the Proexis works, we have first to understand what the existential program is. We talked a little bit about it here, but there is a lot more to it. But then, after we understand how the existential program works, we can understand how each Proexis is different from the others. So, like for instance, I have my own existential program based on my personality, based on my experiences, based on my traits, and you have your own. So, no existential program is like another one, and that's what we call the determinants of the proaxis. What is it that will determine a proaxis? And then another thing that we can understand is how can we actually fulfill that proaxis? Now that I understand that my proaxis is not like Marcelo's, how can I actually put it into practice here in my human life? And then finally, we get to understand that in order for you to actually go into the inner mechanism of your own proaxis, there is something that you can do that is studying your own evolutionary narrative. And that's connected to your question because like you said, that my background is in theater and film and everything like related to how we build characters, how we build the climax of a story and things like that, and we actually can apply that to our own story. And then when you do that, and that one of the teachers, he is a very good teacher in Apex. He's been there for over 30 years. He came up with this concept of the evolutionary narrative, and that's when you understand your own story, considering all the characters that are involved, intraphysical or this dimension characters or helpers, which are the more advanced consciousnesses that are in the extraphysical dimension, or your parents or your kids. You can understand the manner of your life has been, your journey has been fulfilled by yourself, and what is that it will determine your success in it and where you actually may be deviating. That will change a little bit your perspective related to your own life. There are other concepts there that we may even talk about a little bit later, but these are the four that lead to the evolutionary narrative. So in this region here, where Hollywood is like all the celebrities, right? We have all these celebrities, all the gossip that goes around and everything. Then when you start to actually analyze all these lives and everything else, and then you bring it to your own personal reality, then you may be able to understand where you are actually being original and developing everything that you are supposed to be developing that were decided by yourself, and where the distractions may be influencing you and deviating you from your real purpose.
Yes. And then, since we don't, okay, I'm going with, I would make a comment about Al Pacino's movie, but Kelly Lopez has one question here. How have the tools you have sought to identify, achieve, complete your existential program helped you in your daily life in the US? Can you share some of them? Thanks. And congrats, Exemplar.
Oh, she put me on the spot.
Oh, yes, she did.
Well, yes. So I've been through that phase that I told you about, that I was very depressed. I was diagnosed with a clinical depression, and I was having a lot of trouble to actually have a healthy relationship with friends, family, and everybody else, and with myself, within myself. And since 2019, when I actually started this journey of researching and studying the existential program, I have actually had the opportunity to get in touch with my strong traits and to actually admit that I have them and that I have a purpose in having them. That I can apply them on my daily life. And that's what I've been doing. And all the tools that I can learn from these studies is all in experimentation uh, approach, so it's trial and error. And that's been a very positive journey for myself, because that's the way I've been able to actually know more about myself, how I work, how I function, how I manifest myself in this dimension. And when you put the existential ingredient into place, that's more fulfilling than anything else. Because when you're helping others and you're open to be helped, so you are assisting others and you're open to be assisted, that's the interconnection that we need in order to grow, to evolve. I don't know if that
Yeah, I think that you went to the point, and then I was just thinking while you were talking, because you mentioned before about holobiography and parahistory. Okay, and then I think that you mentioned that the projects they are unique.
Mhm.
So should also be during this scripting time when you are planning the projects before the current existence, when you are in the intermissive course, should have a really a strong, um, let's say, factor or influence about what was our history to the connection between what you are planning to do as the projects in this life. And I just to complement, and I would like to see your perspective on that. So we have a strong history, so we have a lot of strong traits or qualities, and also a lot of weak traits and opportunities, let's call it. Okay, so it's like these strong and weak traits, since we haven't like especially the weak traits, okay, we haven't recycled them, we haven't improved them, should be a kind of a challenging to go through our ProX in a more straightforward way. What do you think?
Yeah, it's challenging. It's challenging, but it's possible. It's when you understand these your personal traits, and that's what I like the most about studying the existential program, is how can I actually use this knowledge in a practical way? How can I actually apply this towards a more fulfilling life? And I was watching a movie. I love movies. So I
Yeah,
was watching a movie this week, and one of the characters had a line that stuck with me. And she said, she's a lawyer, and then she was explaining to the judge why she needed to achieve what she wanted to achieve. And then her final sentence was, "We are all of us, we are actually just little kids living out our traumas." Yeah. So that's where I think that we can consider the importance of this, the conscienciological approach, when we actually understand ourselves in a more transcendental way. And then we consider here that our traits are not just qualities or just weaknesses. They are telling us a story. And sometimes it's a very emotional story. And in that emotional story is who we are. And are we functioning very aware of who we are, or are we just reacting to things that happen to us? And then in the movie, of course, she was talking about childhood in this life. But we have to consider here, what did I go through before?
yes.
And how does that implicate in my actions and reactions now? And that's very complicated. But that's where the existential program approach can help. Because if you learn how to actually identify your inner knowledge, your inner compass, what you were planning to do here, that's sort of a guidance on, you know.
And you're kind of reading my mind, okay? Because I would ask now about what should you consider when you want to identify your proex? How do you know if I have one? That's I think that
Oh, yeah. Well, um, so there's even a book, and we have an English version of this book, the 700 Experiments from by Dr. Waldo. There is a page on that book that's actually a test, and you can actually go to that page. I can't remember the page of that book right now, but it's a test for you to actually evaluate if you can consider that you had an intermissive course. But beyond that, oh, there's the link there. But beyond that, you can look inwards and understand what is it that fulfills you. No, I'm not talking about immediate pleasure, and I'm not talking about just happiness. I am talking about bringing in that incredible and very important ingredient that we talked about before, the existential side, because every proexis is existential. There is no proexis that's selfish, that is self fulfilling. So it's that approach, that aspect of your purpose that's very important here. So, in order for you to understand and identify if you have a proexis and what this proexis is, you must consider that aspect always.
thanks for that. And then yes, indeed, weak traits are part of our journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, we are going through our life, okay? And then how could I do the management or the self management about the proex and if I'm going in the right way or not? Okay, after I did the identification, so okay, I need to have some kind of self management. I'm not going to have a yearly review with my boss. So how do you do?
Well, there are several techniques, okay? And at Apex, we work through all those techniques. But just to give you an example, we have a course that's called Proexis Cycle, and we are going to have our first English edition this
Nice.
year in September. And this course will actually it's divided in 8 modules, and these eight modules are a certain aspect of our existential program, or how to identify, or how to realize how you can fulfill it here in this human life, or how you can manage your existential program. And in the last module is actually what we call the existential balance. And that's one of the most important modules. We actually have even a different separated course just to have the approach on how to do the existential balance. And it's just that we all need a pit stop at some point. You know, usually most people do it annually, you know, every year you actually stop and then you make an assessment. And now actually on YouTube we have several specialists in productivity that bring a little bit of this approach. And I've seen several of these experts talking about the importance of you having this self-evaluation regularly. And so you make the plan, you put that plan into practice, and then you have to stop at some point regularly, periodically, and then you make your own evaluation. Am I getting there? Or do I need to change something, realign my objectives or my goals? Or am I going the right track, and things like that? So all that is actually in this course. And is a very a broad way into looking into a specific subject. which is so important to all of us, because that's what will actually determine if you will have a fulfilling life. And then when you go back to uh, your consciousness, extra physical uh, um, manifestation, that's when you will decide over there with more awareness, more lucidity, did I do everything I planned to do?
Yeah, that's always good to have a reflection moment, like some checkpoints, gate reviews, and then one thing it's like that. Apex has like regular courses with that offers the existential balance too. That's right.
Yes, yes. And used to be a lot more just in Brazil, but now actually we are traveling around the world with that course. So uh, we are going to have now this online. The Proexis Cycle is an online course. So even if you are not in the United States, you're welcome to be part of the course. But the Existential Balance is a in-person course, and we have teachers there that are specialized in this subject, and they have been traveling around the world, bringing that experience to a lot of people.
That's good. And Anna has a good question here. Do you think the occurrence of NDE, near-death experience, could be a pit stop to analyze your practice?
Oh, yes, that's a very drastic one. You don't actually have to die to do that. But yes, it is one way. Another way is actually using what I said before in the beginning. Now, right, we have the opportunity to actually experience our uh, spiritual being in the extra physical dimension, what we call the psychosoma. So we can go we can have our out of body experiences, and we can do what sometimes a person that goes through an NDA goes through in a very dramatic, sometimes traumatic way.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. To wait for NDE, but sometimes could be too late. Okay, it's better to have regular points yearly at least to evaluate the situation. Okay, and Ellen, you mentioned about the practice cycle. We would like to talk a little bit more about the practice cycle. We're getting close to the end of the life, so I think that will be interesting to share with our North America colleagues.
Yes, of course. So if you are watching us and you have found yourself just wondering about anything that we talked about here, if you have ever wondered about your purpose in this life, and if you feel lost, if you feel like you're not satisfied with your performance in your life, we are going to have this course starting in September 14th, and it's the Proexis cycle, which is, you remember the topics that I told you about that we go through. We understand what the existential program is, then we will understand what is it that determines an existential program and how you actually fulfill it and stuff. So that's the cycle we go through in order to actually understand how we can manage, identify, fulfill, and manage our proexological manifestation or our proexological approach to life and have a more fulfilling life. And this course is divided in 8 modules. We right now we have 19 teachers that were training to actually give these classes in English, and it's our first edition, and it's directed here to the American people, to the United States, but everybody else in the world is invited because it's an online course.
Yeah,
And it's the first class that I had when I came back to conscienciology and I started volunteering at Apex. That was my first class as a student, and it has been helping me ever since.
Oh, likewise. Okay, so it's very complete, and I think that the nice thing with this course that well, when you're going directly with the English instead of simultaneous interpretation, I think that people will be much more comfortable about interacting more and making more questions. So
Yes.
that's interesting.
Yes, we go very deeply in the individual proexes. We have 2 moments in each class that are just for the questions, and the students, they can bring all their worries and their personal questions into what they are supposed to be doing and how they can identify their proexes and everything else. But on top of that, we have all the explanation on all these concepts and everything that's related to the existential program and to the evolution of the consciousness in here.
Yeah, so it's getting close, August 16th, so interesting. But it's Ellen, if you need to, if you have opportunity to say like give a small message to the Helen in the next life, okay,
Oh,
what would you say for Ellen to go through this practice cycle in a more smooth way? What you would say for the newer intermissivists that are coming around, okay, here in North America? What would be your recommendation or your tip to deal better with this North America way of life and doing the practice?
well, if I had a chance to tell my future Helen, is that don't get distracted with little things. Don't get distracted with this confusion. That this human life is very difficult and very confusing. And don't trust your inner compass. Trust it and bring it to life, because that's what the world needs. And here now, in this reality here in the United States, with everything that we are going through right now, that's what we need. We need people that are more open to assistance, to openness. We need people to actually embrace their real reality, which is not here. Bring what we have there, which is the best we have there, especially in our intermissive courses. Bring it to here, to this human life, and spread the word.
Yeah, I would say that let's change a little bit the pursuit of happiness for pursuit of evolution.
Yeah, and evolution of others, not just
Yes,
ours.
it starts in us. Okay, the moment that starts in us, there is a halo effect that goes through the people around us, and then that's the key thing.
Yeah. Guys, if you guys feel like this makes sense to you, you're more than welcome to go to our website, www.proexology.com. And we have a lot of information there that you might feel compelled to read and watch. We have videos too and everything else.
And then we have an additional question here. Do you think that identifying your mega strong trait could guide you into finding your Prex contents?
Yes, for sure. And we actually in conscienciology even consider that our proaxis is built around our mega strong trait. So the identification of your strong traits, and if you're focused enough and you are able to actually identify your mega strong trait, that will be a huge indication on what you can do.
Yeah. And then if each one of us here in North America can identify our mega strong traits and groupalities, that's very important. Okay. We may connect, okay, better and work better in a group proaxis. here in North America. But talking about the mega-strong traits, can you give examples, please?
Sure. Yes, I've um, I've always been a very distracted person, dispersed, and I've always had a difficulty in focusing on one thing and or having a continuity and finishing things. And in these past 5 years, I've been actually focusing on identifying and understanding my strong traits. And that has been giving me the directions on what I can do, even professionally. So, for instance, I have the opportunity to speak English, and it's not my native language. A lot of people say, and now I believe, people say that I am very communicative and I have a good communication. I have the opportunity to actually also read and understand what I'm reading. So a lot of people don't. So do the right interpretation on everything else. And those things, when you actually embrace these things, you can actually pinpoint a line of work, a line of volunteering work, a line of activities that you can develop throughout your life. Somebody that's more introspective and is more like doesn't speak foreign languages, they might have a different path, different from mine. But it doesn't mean that it's better or worse. It's just theirs.
And then also we need to remember those are tools to do our Proexis, our activities. Okay, so it's like if you have a tool, we need to thinking about what I'm going to do in a
Yeah.
positive evolutionary way with this tool here. That's a key thing.
Take advantage of what we have to offer you. Take advantage because one thing that I can say now for sure is that your Proexis was developed by you with a more advanced consciousness. And that planning that you did is something based on what you're capable, what you're able to do. Until you find out, until you take advantage of all the tools that you have at your disposal right now, and you find out what your traits, what your vocations or your qualities, whatever you want to call it, until you actually find out what these things are, you will be hindering yourself from fulfilling your proexes in a way that you can even imagine.
Yes. And Ellen, do you have any final remarks any message, additional message that you want to share with the group?
Yes, I just wanted to thank you for the invitation. I love talking about this. I love being here, and I love what I do now. And I invite all of you to come and enjoy loving what you do with me.
Yes, we love to have you here. I want to reinforce the invitation to whoever is watching it and it's interested in the consensual paradigm in conscientiology. If you live in North America, feel free to contact us and to join the North America group.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's I cannot express the gratitude of having you here talking about Proex. Ellen, thanks very much. And thank you everyone for watching us. And until the next Consciousness Evolution and until the next meetings of our North America Conscientiology group. Okay, see you guys.